Now, in 2019, the Namibian government decriminalized what they called baby abandonment. This is when parents who are no longer able to care for their babies leave them in a designated place where the children can be discovered. Now, 3 years on, the government is relaunching an awareness campaign as babies are often left in precarious places. Grace Courier reports from Windhoek.
It was not an easy decision as a mother to carry a baby for 9 months and give it away, but I still did it because of the situation I was in.
Linda, not her real name, was forced to give up her child when he was just 3 days old. It was an unplanned pregnancy.
The other 4 children of mine, they would understand my mum has nothing today. We will not eat today. But for my 5th born, if there is no meal, he would not understand anything. So I just thought I have to give this baby away to someone who would take better care of him.
According to statistics released by police, between 2018 and 2022, close to 140 babies were abandoned nationwide.
Some of the factors, it's an unwanted pregnancy. Also, when you look at from her side, that my family will not be able to support this child, neither I be able to support this child.
Namibia's Childcare and Protection Act, which came into force in 2019, states that a child can be left at several designated safe places, a hospital and a police station to name a few. The child must show no sign of abuse, neglect or malnutrition, otherwise the parents will be arrested. The Ministry of Gender feels that the current criteria are not publicized enough and are relaunching an awareness campaign.
Do talk at the radio in a different vernacular language. We do go to schools and we do community meeting.
Once the baby is handed in, the child is given to a social worker. They investigate the circumstances under which the baby was abandoned. It is then that they decide if criminal charges are to be brought against the parents. The baby is then placed in a children's home, pending possible adoption. One such place is the Voiceless Foundation. It is just outside the capital, Windhoek.
We received this little baby only yesterday. He's 4 days old.
So here is where it all starts. A mother who does not want to keep her baby will come and place it here at this baby saver box. It has a mattress, a blanket, and I can't help but notice some cute love hearts, perhaps a symbol of the love that is in this place. And so far, 10 babies have gone through this saver box into the loving hands of the Voiceless Foundation.
The foundation actively runs an awareness campaign. They, like the government, believe that parents don't always know what their options are.
If I do really aggressive awareness, then suddenly I'll get a lot of messages, people asking me the location of the baby saver box. So awareness is of utmost importance.
The foundation only offers temporary placements for the babies and makes sure that mothers know they have 30 days to reconsider. And Linda learnt about them through Facebook. Though remorseful, Linda believes she did the best for her child at the time. The government and private foundations will continue to run an awareness campaign to reach Namibian parents that will help with the future welfare for both them and their children. Grace Courier, BBC News, Namibia.
Well, let's bring in Robin Wolfson-Forster. She is the founder of For the Voiceless. That's a non-profit organization in South Africa that lobbies for changes in policy for vulnerable children. Thanks for taking time to speak to us here on Focus on Africa. I'm wondering whether there are any similarities or differences, really, between South Africa and Namibia when it comes to children being abandoned.
That's a very important question, Sophie. Thank you so much for asking it. I think the Namibian story has been very instructive for us because up until quite recently, the Namibian legislation followed South African legislation and specifically followed our Children's Act. But they've been incredibly proactive when it comes to looking at the issue of safe relinquishment of abandoned children. And what is instructive for us is you saw those figures in the clip that you've just seen. What we know from research that was done by Dr. Whitney Rosenberg for her doctoral thesis thesis on safe relinquishment is that they probably were finding about 13 abandoned fetuses in their water system every month from unsafe abandonment. And it was off the back of that that they declared this crisis and they decided to change their policy. Now, if you look at South Africa by contrast, we probably have an exponentially bigger problem. And although we don't have any clear recorded statistics related to child abandonment, what we do know is that in 2010 alone, 3,500 children survived abandonment in 1 year. That's roughly 10 per day. And some studies in the Gauteng province, which is our most densely populated province, and that show that for every one abandoned child that survives abandonment, 2 do not. So if you look at South Africa, there is a huge need for the legalization of safe relinquishment. However, government have not been open to this despite the lobbying that has been.
Let me come in here, because obviously there appears there's a huge issue in South Africa, but I'm just curious about the reasons why we're seeing such huge numbers. You talk about 3,500.
So that's the children that survive abandonment. And if you look at the factors that relate to abandonment, so you heard it in that clip, Linda's story, the problem of being too poor to parent. And often it's a second or a third child that mother simply cannot feed. We also look at huge problems with gender-based violence. That is often a factor. Children conceived through rape or incest. We also look at the breakdown of traditional structures where there has been support for mothers experiencing a crisis pregnancy in the past, but now through urbanization, often HIV/AIDS, other pandemics, that support has fallen away, and those moms find themselves alone. And often they are also abandoned by the father of that baby. So they have absolutely no support. In South Africa, what's also interesting is we currently have a crisis in teen pregnancies, and our legislation specifically says that if you are a teenager, you may not place your child into the child protection system without the approval of your parent or guardian. So what that
let me step in here, because you've really broken this down for us, and I'm just, because of time issues, I'm just wondering, because some of these children are taken to safe places, or homes, for example. What challenges do they face when it comes to when they grow up, or when they're in those homes? And at what point do you tell them, look, we were abandoned, or do you not tell them?
So I think it's very important that we stop unsafe abandonment, because often those children have got massive disabilities as a result of abandonment, plus emotional difficulties. So the act of being left behind by your mother is a traumatic act, and those children need a lot of support. The ones that seem to fare the best, though, are the ones that are placed into safe and loving permanent families, and that is facilitated by the process working quickly. And what we know is that when we do have safe relinquishment laws, it is easier for those children to enter the child protection system, to be declared adoptable, and to be placed in permanent loving families, as opposed to spending long periods of time in institutional care, which certainly exacerbates those initial problems with abandonment and loss.
All right, Robin Wolfson-Vorster, thank you very much indeed for sharing your thoughts on this very important story. Thank you.